Okay, you're good to go.
Okay.
Good.
All righty. Welcome to the October 16th meeting of the Town of Waxahachie Groves Roadway, Equestrian Trails, Greenway Advisory Committee. May it come to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Chair Harris,
Present.
Vice Chair Siciliano, not present at the moment. Committee Member Corning.
Here.
Committee Member Strelo.
Here.
Town Council Liaison Tom Golsonay.
May we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. Member Corning, would you like to lead us in the pledge? No?
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to come together as a community and work together in a civil way. Grant us wisdom and guidance to make this town the one that you're proud of and the garden that you provide us to live in. In your name we pray. Amen. Approval agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Here.
May the clerk note that Member Siciliano has arrived.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I have a question. 4B, 5A, and B, discussions, are they the informal conversations?
They are discussions conceptually. They're not a research assignment. They're more like a poll.
Poll of
Of considerations of this committee.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Do we have a second?
I was wondering why we had the street bumps in here again, 5A,
Because
without any other.
the last meeting, the two councilmen wanted that to be on the agenda. This meeting, 3 councilmen want it on the agenda. There is no backup for it other than a letter of citizens requesting its consideration. And again, this is a conceptual thought process. We are to use our thoughts just like Jefferson, just like Adams, just like Washington and Franklin did when they formed this country. They had no backup, they used thought. So
My concern was that there was a concern voiced last time regarding warranties, and without the knowledge of that, I'm not quite sure how we're supposed to.
this is a broad stroke concept, not a fine point issue. This is just for conversation.
Which one are we discussing? Which one? Which topic?
The speed bumps,
Oh, speed bumps.
5A. You know, I mean, I'd be happy to discuss it, but the thing is, you know, without the knowledge whether we are messing around with somebody's warranty, it's really.
That is for the town council and the other government entities that are involved in that. We are here just to consider and make recommendations, so it's a conceptual idea. Those types of considerations will be developed and oversight be put in to make sure that it is proper by town management, by town council, and town's attorney.
This was brought to us how?
This was brought to us letters from a Johnny Robb and a Jack Micklish, I believe is how his name is presented, and Councilman Rocket and Councilman Golsonay, and our town manager indicated a third councilman wanted us to discuss it.
Again, I mean, it's having the material to discuss it
Okay.
with.
If I may,
Yes.
just skip it. discuss it at the town council, we don't need the input. If it's such a difficult issue for y'all, then just skip it.
All right, do we have a motion to include it or delete it from the committee? Yes.
Chair Harris, I am so sorry, and this is my typographical error. Could we welcome Laura Danowski, please? I forgot to call her. She was not on my list for the agenda
Oh,
for
I
committee
apologize.
members.
I apologize. Will we acknowledge that
So,
Laura
are
is
you
with
here,
us
Laura?
tonight?
Yeah, I'm good, I'm here.
All right, thanks.
So is there a motion to keep or delete the item 5A?
Given the fact that we don't have any more knowledge than we did last time, I'm not quite sure what more we're going to discuss, so I would vote for either postponing it until we have such information, or simply asking the council to make a decision.
Do you wish to make it a motion?
Yes.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor to delete item 5A from the agenda, say aye. Aye. None opposed? Hearing none, it passes 5-0. Item 5A is to be removed from the agenda.
Keith,
Yes.
if I may, I do find it silly that you guys didn't want to talk about something because one little part of it is unknown, and just completely leave out the spacing issues, the fact that you have 2 citizens who would like to see this, you have 3 councilmen that would like your input, and to just decide not to do it because of whatever reason, which I really can't understand.
Tom, you weren't
I
here.
don't know why we even have an advisory board if you don't want to advise.
We're
If that's not help.
happy to advise if we
No,
have
you were
the-
asked and you chose not to.
No, actually,
Because you didn't know if it would affect the warranty. That's, like Keith said, that's not germane. That's not germane to the question. Do you want speed bumps, yes or no?
We already discussed it, Tom.
you weren't here.
You weren't here.
We
We
had a
already
consensus,
went over that.
we did not agree, and when a third councilman came back on, it was put back on the issue for reconsideration.
If you don't have a report, if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine.
You know, what I find interesting too is because I called town management about this and asked, why is it back on again? I don't see any information. I was told, oh, there is no more information, it's just easier to take it off rather than to work on the agenda now. And, okay, so then maybe people, let me finish, please.
Just so you understand,
I
there is no
wasn't finished
backup
yet.
for, well, I understand, but your point is that there's no backup, and that is acknowledged. There is no backup, there will be no backup. There will be no more further discussion because I was merely expressing the fact that I found, it's really becoming like this is a very political thing. You can't think of anything you want to talk about except, the most mundane. And it really, it's troublesome. I can see the tension between all the folks here. Nobody can make it say anything and everybody's got to sit back and now we can't talk about speed bumps. I
No,
hope you
that's
like
not the
them.
case. The fact
We'll
is that-
we'll just deal with it. I know
How
that
many-
the council has issues.
How many
relative to it.
times shall we talk about it?
That's exactly,
Min.
that's the problem with this committee. How many times shall we talk about it is what should be named, because that's what it is on every issue. So.
Yes, it is.
As
So
I've said,
make up your
I
mind.
find-
Walk,
personally,
talk on and on, or move on.
I think moving on is really what should be done, quite honestly.
That's what we've agreed. Thank you.
Okay, well then, we, as the council, will decide how we'll deal with the speed bumps, and we will acknowledge that you can't come to any further statement than a divided statement.
They
That's
should have
fine.
already had our report.
All right, is there any further consideration to approve the existing agenda minus 5A? May I receive a motion to approve the agenda, the revised agenda?
Make a motion to approve the revised agenda.
Do we have a second? Any discussion further? Hearing none. Public comment? No, public comment would not come into this time, so I apologize. All in favor of approving the revised agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say. It passes 5-0. Minutes, June 25th, 2014. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
I have an issue with those minutes. I apologize to staff because I should have brought it up when I spoke with them and I completely forgot about it. On page 2, committee member Corning had a concern about the comment she had made on page 8 and 9 of that should be read. We now have site control. As I said earlier, I was told that we now have site control because I'm not an attorney. That's what I said at the original time, and that's what I asked for the correction to be. It wasn't just a we, it was also I was told, as I'm not an attorney. And that's what I exactly explained last time.
Mr. Town Manager, sir, would you like to offer comment to this?
Well, I didn't hear everything, but as of this juncture, there's still no site control.
Correct. Well, I was told at the time that we now have site control when the governor signed it. It was a mere fact, excuse me, it was a mere fact of putting in the maps the fact that we didn't know where everything's supposed to be at and that it all needed to be surveyed and so forth. And that is basically what I stated, that I was told that we now have site control, and that was, I'm just making sure I'm quoted correctly in those minutes.
So, do you
I'm
have,
not gonna, I would say,
do you have an
well, we
issue?
were told that. I would only advise that we do not. And
But that's not the subject. The subject is how does what I
the
said
subject is,
get reflected.
the subject is, you have a question about this sentence. How would you like it revised?
Again, I was told that we now have site control is what I said and what I.
So you wish for it to say, I was told we have site control. You wish to add those words.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have to go through a vote on, for that particular change, or can that change be made at the individual's committee
No,
member's
that
request?
has to be a vote.
That has to be a vote.
It's an
All right.
amendment to the.
May I have a motion to change the minutes to add, I was told, to this line item that was commented on by committee member Corning?
Make a motion to change it to what I originally said.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
There's a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? It passes 5-0. Any other changes to these minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the revised minutes?
Make a motion to approve the revised minutes.
Is there a second?
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes 5-0. Presentations. Review presentation of resolution number 2011-005. There is a little bit of a typo there. The large-scale land use plan amendment application proposed by Solar Sports Systems, Inc. should actually read the creation of the RETGAC committee. In our package, as backup, there is the actual resolution. And due to conflict and confusion and conversation in the past couple meetings, I felt it necessary to establish the fact that this committee was established by town council as a roadway, equestrian trail, greenway advisory committee. In a section of this resolution, and I unfortunately have not my markup sheet, so bear with me just a second. Page 2 of the resolution.
Page
Is it-
2,
is it
like
page-
1B2.
All right, yes, I'm going to 1B, duties. The roadway equestrian trail greenway advisory committees do include, but not limited to, reviewing and analyzing projects relating to roadways, multi-purpose and equestrian trails, greenways, parks, and related water issues as may be assigned to it by town council from time to time. Yes, we are to respond to requests by town council, but we're not limited to only considering items that town council makes upon us. We are to, under B2, make recommendations to town council on the enhancement, improvement, and development of roadways, multi-purpose and equestrian trails, greenways, parks, and related water issues within the town. That completes my presentation. Are there any questions?
What's the deal?
What's the deal? We are to discuss roadway issues, equestrian trail issues, and greenway advisory issues. I heard at the last meeting that we're nothing but an equestrian trail committee, and I wanted to demonstrate under our resolution that we're more than just an equestrian trail advisory committee. Are there any questions?
No, I think, honestly, I think it's funny. It's because we used to be called, the nickname was Equestrian Trail Committee. Then the nickname became Roads Committee. And then, I mean, I've always called us the RETGAC, or, I mean, I've always incorporated all of it into it. So I'm not quite sure what your point is. I don't think we've said that it's only. Where do you feel that we have not done our duties?
I have heard comments on this committee that we're only supposed to do things what town council directs us to do, and we're not an equestrian committee. And right here in the print of the resolution, it says we're not limited to what the town council directs, and we're not limited to equestrian trails. We're to do it all. That is my point.
We're an advisory committee, right?
We are an advisory committee, yes.
So for an example, we were just asked to advise on speed bumps, which we decided not to do, or we had done, and they
Nobody
didn't recognize our advice. So, in my opinion, it seems to be that there needs to be a more clear chain of command. If there is a specific question or a specific thing that you would like advice on, that it needs to be stated as such, and then we as a committee can have a conversation and eventually give our advice, our opinion on that specific detail, whether it is the roads as they pertain to equestrian trails, as they pertain to crossings, as they pertain to speed bumps, as they pertain to what type of road cover, thank you. You know, I mean, there are so many details that are combined, and it's a ball of string. So I feel like if there's a specific area where they would like our advice, it would be more helpful to us to have it laid out as such, as opposed to us just having to sort of broad sweep through all of those Atchee roads and say, well, okay, that speed bump's one too many, and that trail over there doesn't have a gate. You know, I mean, those are all things that need to be taken under advice, but if there's a specific.
I don't.
If I could,
Yes, sir.
it's not that at all.
What is it?
It's not to say this speed bump, that sign. It's more the 5,000 foot view, higher up. Should there be speed bumps? If so, what do you think? Are they fine the way they are? Is there too many?
generalities, because you are not assigned to pick the colors. You're not assigned to do the basics like that. That's what staff does.
Okay.
It's the big picture. And that's why not dealing with an issue because you don't know a tiny part of it is just a cop-out. You need to say what you think about it and let us know. If, however, you've already talked about it and you feel that that is in your report and in your minutes, then hopefully staff can glean that out for us and make the council aware because we were interested in the speed bump issue. But if you think your job is to count how many signs need to go along the road, we have people to do that. That's what we do. And if you think differently, please read this. Please understand what an advisory committee is about. You're not junior staff. You're not free staff. You're not
Engineers.
You're not engineers. You're not part of that. You're citizens giving your opinion in a general way, hopefully in a consensus that we can use to say, people thought about this, they talked about it, this is what they said. And that's what we need to do with trails, okay? We're moving forward with trails. Right now, we're negotiating an ILA agreement. Hopefully that'll be achieved, but the district has one set of opinions, the town has another set of opinions. They need to be reconciled. It's no longer your issue, okay? Let's deal with the issues we have, stop the bickering, move forward, because that's what's important. Because bickering over silliness, which I'm telling you, this is very silly.
Let me ask you this. This is just in a hypothetical. So let's say, for example, going back to the speed bumps because it's the only thing that's fresh in my memory. If we said the speed bumps came on the table, and as an advisory committee, we said, quite honestly, we don't agree with the 10 of them per road, or whatever it is per mile. And we don't necessarily believe that they need to be 4 feet high or whatever it is, because...
The council already has a design. What we're asking really about is the sequencing of them. Are there too many? Not enough?
And we answered that.
Then we have that. Thank you.
No, we did not answer that.
Okay.
We did not answer that. We simply said we did not have the information to discuss it.
Well, then that's not, but let's stay off of that because you already said you're not going to talk about it, so we're way off agenda right now.
Okay, but my hypothetical was more geared towards, like, when something comes to us, with so specifically as, how many signs,
That won't be the, if
Okay.
that's the question, that's too specific a question.
Okay.
Because we have somebody on staff who could drive around and answer that question in probably 30 minutes. And then we don't need to spend 5 people's time seeing if you guys can remember which roads are which.
okay,
We don't need to do that. That's not what this is about. It's about, should there be signs?
okay.
Should there be picture signs, as we've discussed, the horse thing, or should it be a bunch of text? Or should it say you're going to go to prison? Whatever we say, fine, but we don't need to get down to the nitty gritty, even though Chief does have the final review for tonight.
Okay.
Well, it's just that we have staff to deal with those things,
Right. Totally.
We're not asking you to go hang the signs up.
If that's the case, why has it taken 3 years to get these horse signs? If there's staff to do it?
Why?
All right,
Because
we're exhausted.
I cannot speak for staff because I'm not staff. And I don't think that that's really appropriate to say that the town staff is falling behind because these horse signs are not at each and every location.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, you're saying that we don't need to discuss this because other people can. Well, yes, other people can, but other people cannot.
Well, then what you're saying is
And it's like you're almost discussing both sides of the situation.
Well, I'm trying to be circumspect rather than try to pick a
It's
side.
not so much circumspect as it is not being forward.
I don't understand what you're trying to say.
What I'm trying to say is, would you just say what you'd like to say plainly and not discuss both sides of the issue?
I would be glad to do that, except I don't know in specific what you would like me to say in response to this.
It's not that I would like you to say anything,
the
I
thing
just
about-
like
all right,
to
well,
hear
then that's
something concrete.
Relative to why it's taken so long to get the signs?
No, relative to why you're bringing this topic, this conversation to the committee about, you're not supposed to do this, you do this,
The
you
reason,
don't
okay,
do that.
okay, plainly?
Yeah.
Because I believe the committee has wasted a great deal of everyone's time accomplishing very little. You want
And we
you
were
want the plain
encouraged
truth.
to do that.
I don't know by whom.
Ms. Corning?
In the committee's defense, we have done some great things that we're not specifically asked for. And, you know.
Well, then, let me just say before
You know, I
continue-
don't appreciate
no,
it being
no,
interrupted every time I
because-
said three
because there's
words,
2 points.
honestly.
Well, that's fine.
Let me
Just
finish,
wait.
because I am on this committee.
So am I.
That doesn't mean you get to interrupt me every time I start talking.
Enough.
It was my
You're out of
turn to
order.
speak. Who's out of order?
You are out of order.
I'm out of order?
Yes, ma'am, the town councilman is speaking. Allow
I
him to
was
finish.
speaking, he interrupted me.
You're out of order.
You
The
may
councilman,
smack that even louder if you'd like. It
Okay.
was my turn to speak.
one more time, I'm going to ask you to relieve yourself from this chamber
Wow. When do I get to speak?
when he finishes.
I was in the middle of speaking.
When he finishes.
My point to be made was, you didn't want to talk about the speed hump, you didn't want to talk about the speed humps tonight, because the speed humps are an issue that was brought from someplace else.
No.
Except you guys you just said that you
Let
brought
me
up things that
finish
from
before.
other side things. I don't know what this committee's accomplished, to be quite honest with you. I have no idea what the committee's accomplished. Nothing. We do not have site control today,
And whose fault is that?
certainly not mine.
Certainly not this committee's.
The point is, don't crow about things that you've done when you haven't done anything. And that's the point. Nothing has been accomplished. No, it's true. And that's the problem with this committee. It does not accomplish anything. People have not attended it. It has been just without anyone here. And I quite honestly don't feel you're providing any useful input, because it's just nothing but bickering. And it's silly, and that's all you want to do, and you want the floor so you can bicker more. So go
That
ahead,
is
say
not-
what you'd like.
What I wanted to say earlier is that what we had been asked about on C Road specifically was whether or not there was a request to look into whether we should take every other speed bump out. This being on the agenda, the same way it was last time, I assumed it was the same issue. The concern that was brought was that the speed bumps from the people that I spoke with served a certain purpose for the warranty, and that I did not feel comfortable making decisions about something that would void a warranty for somebody. And I said, look, we'd be happy to discuss it with more background information.
Well-
And here we were with, again, no more background information. So that was the reason why I called and said, look, do we have anything more? It's not that I don't want to discuss it.
It doesn't relate to a warranty. It doesn't relate to anything at all, except, do you think they should be there? We have complaints from citizens. We have 3 councilmen who like your input on it. To just be so obstinate to not want to talk about it, or to say you've already said it, and and to argue over all the petty things. I'm telling you, that's not appropriate. Could we talk about the
We
more
can twist
important?
and turn the words I've used, and that's okay.
All right, whatever.
It's not
See,
what I said.
it's not about a political conversation, Tina. It's about, this is a waste of time.
For the record, the last month's meeting when this was brought up, the backup was for actually C Road. The chair did say that Councilman Rocket did indeed ask for all roads to be considered, not just C. So it was about the entire speed bump system in this town, not just C Road. So there we are.
And the concern that I brought up was that when people are paying $100 an acre for the next 10 years, that decisions that are being made by us that can potentially put that at risk, I wanted to know more about that. And we don't have any more about it. And it's not my job to find that. Yeah,
And it's not our job to
Okay.
this.
And honestly, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
if you could, until we have site control of any roads, don't discuss them. Nor the trails. Don't discuss them further, because they're not within our purview, okay? Only Compton, Marcella, Bryan, 22nd Road North. Just talk about those. Because using that logic, nothing can be discussed. You can't talk about the Ojum roads, you can't talk about the dirt roads. So, don't talk about any roads.
So there's no necessity of talking,
Well, then you can talk about C Road if we have the Ojum roads, right? Well, then we can talk about C Road because it is our road.
is the councilman suggesting that the remainder of this agenda be scrapped because of the fact that we are not in control of these items?
I've made the point before that we spend money on things we don't own. So, you know, that is part of what has to be recognized. And when people worry about why we don't have trails, that's the main obstacle.
Ms. Laura, do you have anything to say?
I do,
Please.
and it's a question only because I don't understand. Tell me again, please, or give me an example. What do you mean, we spend money on things that we don't own?
We have the roads are under the ownership of the Water Management District,
Okay.
not the town. All the trail locations are on Water Management District property.
Okay.
There has been a long period of time where there's been a tacit understanding that at some point, those properties would become available to us in writing. That point is sometime in the future. I cannot tell you when. Because of that, I say that when we give money towards roads, towards any of this, we're spending money on things we don't own. Now, as Mr. Underwood pointed out, the ownership of the Ojum roads has been accomplished, as well as the roads that I named earlier.
With the exception of North.
With the exception of North Road, which they have not turned over, so we did it 3 years ago. Those are the facts. A lot of people like to ignore the facts and then proceed on, but one of the issues is that we have not been able to achieve site control for the trails or grant monies because we haven't been able to negotiate that with the Water Management District or the Water Control District.
So would
We're
it,
in that process, but it is not yet done.
so it would not be a good use of resources to develop trails in part on the roads that we do have control over or jurisdiction?
It would be a good idea, but the trail area has not been turned over in any of the jurisdictions at all. Am I
Even,
correct in that?
Nor on the OJEM side. The OJEM pieces that we got are the
Just,
OJEM, not the
Oh.
other side.
as soon as you
Trail,
get out
what
of
would be
pavement,
the trail
it's not.
side,
oh,
and we are negotiating now to do an ILA where theoretically they don't even have control. And they need surveys. They have to take the surveys and then they have to file them with the court or the property appraiser, the property. And then they won't get it and then they can give it to us, be entitled to use or easement to use, some fashion where we can have site control. But that whole process, first you gotta go get, they have a statute that says, okay, it's yours. If you go get your easement, and you file it, and record it, and then it's yours, and then they can give it to us. And so that's history. That's where we're at right now.
Okay, and
And they
again,
want us to pay for it, because they have no money to pay for it. That's part of what we're discussing, but where we have no problem paying for it that I've ever heard.
and site control means maintenance, any
No,
repair, gate
they
install, what
want
does?
they want to maintain maintenance control because they have to clean out the canals. And that is the side that they use to clean the canals out, on the trail side. They don't do it on the OJ side.
On the other side, okay, thank you.
Ms.
At
Corn.
least, I could be wrong,
But-
shoot me if I'm wrong. I
Before
think
we
legally
finish.
that works.
I think we are supposed to be gonna pay for mowing and other expenses like additional gates or additional signage.
We pay for all the
That would be town
improvements.
type Improvements for the trail.
Correct. And right now.
Because right now, they mow it 3 or 4 times a year.
Mhm.
We are talking about 20, 30 times a year. So it's gonna be more. It's gonna cost more. Obviously, they're not gonna do it 20 times a year. So we're gonna have to come up with that money as a town, either through our own contract or through paying them to accomplish that. All these things have been talked about to death. I mean, not just here. They've been talked about in the intergovernmental council meetings. They've been talked about between staff and district staff. They've been hashed out. It's just, now it's down to the contract stage, and that we're actually at the point where 2 lawyers are talking about things, so we can make that happen.
All right,
Ms. Corn,
Thank you.
you have the floor.
It's been my understanding that something was drawn up and has been sitting with our town's attorney for a considerable amount of time, is that correct? That is what actually was said at the Water Control District meeting on Monday.
I believe that there's several things that I've seen. There's an ILA that may not be in the town's best favor, that is being negotiated. I have not read it personally, but it's my understanding that the 2 attorneys have not discussed it between themselves, but there is a draft of an ILA for the trails. And some of that may have actually been worked out this week because there was another ILA, I guess it was more involved, and I said, why don't we just focus on one thing? Why don't we just focus on the trails, get that piece squared away, rather than having this big ILA that covers a whole litany of things. So we have, I just handed to me today. I have not read it. Met with Mr. Yohe, and I said, okay, this may work because we're focusing on one thing. Let's focus on the trails.
So those trails haven't been for 2 or 3 months with
Yes.
Mr. Cirillo?
Yes, they
I
have.
think there's been agreements or discussions for at least possibly.
No, I mean, I thought that they actually left the Water Control, said no.
Yes, they were given to the town by the Water Control District. In them, they said that the Water Control District wanted us to pay for the trail, and then after that was done, and they recorded it, we could apply for a permit with drawings and other things, and they would decide where we could have trails. That was unacceptable.
Well, I would actually like to see that language. I think in all of us, you know, here we're being accused of not getting anything
I'm sure they
done.
have copies, however, the point I'm making is.
That's the underlying document, obviously, at this point.
I understand, but it's being negotiated right now within the IGC committee, not within the Trails Committee. Mr. Ryan chose to negotiate it in public the other evening, but that has nothing to do with the fact that town's point of view was conveyed to our attorney. Our attorney is aware of that, concurs with that, and we'll be speaking with Ms. Pfeiffer. I have no control over why, when, or how he does anything, other than the direction that he was given, that Mark and I gave him. So, further than that, I really shouldn't go right now because we have ongoing negotiations, as Bill has discussed, and he's up to date with Steve Yowie through today on this. So I think everyone should rest assured that he's got it well under control.
Member Ciliano?
You know, I hate to beat a dead horse, but I have to because I suppose what's missing in my head to make this more logical for me in what it is that we're supposed to complement the town council and sort of take upon ourselves to be a voice for the public as equestrians and as landowners is, what does the waterfall look like? You know, like what I'm saying is, what has to happen at A to get to B, and then A being a canal, we have to purchase a canal, to go to C, to go to here. There it is. That picture has not really ever been made clear to me. I don't know if it's been ever made clear to anyone because it seems to keep getting stuck in some sort of circle between the water district. So it's not real fair. I mean, I can advise you that I'd like a trail. It doesn't really matter if we don't have the place to put it, does it? So I suppose what I'd like to see from somewhere is a flow chart that says, if you want a trail, here's what has to happen. A, B, C, D. You have to buy the roads from us. That's not gonna happen. Okay, give us options for A and B, you know, or, you know, and then all of the roads next to the trail have to be paved, because otherwise, I don't know, I mean, I don't understand, there's no succinct, there's no.
Right.
Well,
There is no written
skill.
The essence
Because we get to
is,
C and we flip back to A.
the essence is, it requires thought on each of the members of the committee to suggest things to make that chart, because there is no roadmap. If there was a roadmap, this committee would not be necessary.
And
I
I also think it's why B5 is on here, is so that you can understand that interrelationship that creates that loop you talked about. Like I say, two attorneys are talking, they both work for us. But they work for us, and one's working for this pocket, and one's working for that pocket. And that's how that works. And if you have two, you're gonna have a situation where one is saying, if I let you have a trail, when I want to dig out the canal and put it there, you will say, oh, that's my trail. If one says the opposite, they say, well, if you have a trail there, what am I gonna do with the mud when I have to clean out my canal, because I have to clean out my canal? It's the chicken and the egg in how we're gonna do it.
And so
when you have two entities, he works for the town, Mr. Yogi works for the water district. They do what they're supposed to do. Their respective attorneys do what they are supposed to do.
But my question
and so it becomes more difficult than if you just said, do it, and we said, okay, and we went and did it.
But my question is that then how on earth am I supposed to have an advice not knowing what the outcome is? I can't give advice to somebody who may or may not get divorced.
Well, we're real close on the contract. I mean, we are closer today than we have ever been. And maybe it's like darkest before the dawn, but we're right at the very edge now.
So the silliest thing of this all is like, it's like as if you're a property owner and you have no idea where your property ends and where your property starts. In order to do what you need to do on that property, you need to know, here's my edge.
And there you go back to the loop. Where's the beginning?
And that's the simple thing of if you don't know, what you need to do is hire a surveyor.
The answer to the loop and where's the edge is when you do the survey, it will determine the edge.
Correct.
You will file it, they will, like, in a little simultaneous thing, they file it, and then it goes to the district, and then it goes to the town, and now you've got it.
So,
And that's what we've got to finish.
Okay, and so as an advisory committee, all we say is we'd like to see a trail, because we really don't have any more say than that. Do we really? Actually, I'm not an attorney, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a surveyor.
No, you don't have to say, because you're just advising, but when you say you want a trail, do you want just a trail around the edge like an old plan had? Or do you want a trail on the west side of every canal? Or do you want to say people can just ride on the road and that's fine, we don't need trails? Like, I've heard people say, oh, we always used to ride in the road, so we'll just ride the road. And then people say, well, if you're riding the road, that's because there's no, you see? So was that the right decision? Most people say yes, that's why we're talking about a trail system.
Okay.
Because of OJM, am I right in it? I mean, you go back on this longer than I do. That's the whole
Basically,
point.
the way I see it is there are two things going on. One is just knowing where your edges, which means you have to hire a surveyor, which means you get money for the survey. The other is the negotiations that are actually down the road of how to maintain. What's happening, I believe, is that two of them are being intermingled right now, and it's instead of bringing forward, you know, and maybe there's some merits to that. I can think of a few, and I can think of the negative sides of it as well, is it's really a matter of filing the maps. And if you don't know where the edges are, then you need the survey, and you need to pay for the survey. After that, technically, you could then work out all the other details. I think where it gets mucky is because the water control district would like to have help from the town to pay for the surveys. And with that comes that whole negotiation of how do we do the trails? And how do we maintain the trails?
Okay.
And that makes it a deeper subject.
Sure.
Yeah?
Ms. Laurel?
Yes. I have an answer to what type of trail do equestrians want. And it's going to be a little long-winded, but in the end, it generates revenue. No surprise, Wellington is saturated with the locusts and huns that come down here every season and invade our space. Unfortunately, these people have scads and buckets of money. Wellington is saturated. They're coming to our town. And we all know these horses are high maintenance, the people are even more maintenance than the animals, and they want very good footing. Not pristine like show jumping arena footing, but footing. I wouldn't ride my horse on an OJM road if you gave me a lifelong contract with a veterinarian. I wouldn't do it. It just creates way too much aggravation. So in broad swoop, we want decent footing, some kind of gate access to get from point A to point B, something that, for these show jumping horses, they like to get out on the trails for literally mental health break, change of scenery. So there needs to be flatness, there needs to be breadth of trail, you know, so we're not riding through palmetto trees and those god-awful skinny branches that hurt like hell when you run into them. That is the type of trail where, not where the residential clusters are, but where the farms are, where these people come for seasons so they can walk out their driveway and go down F Road and go up D or go down E and up along C. If any of that ramble helps.
How do you like F Road?
It needs some cleaning up. I think it is one of the better that we have. I live on E.
Only.
Yeah. Parts.
North E.
I'm on middle E between
Yeah,
Collecting and
that-
Okeechobee.
No, it's on the part between Okeechobee and South North was a designated horse trail also.
Was a designated trail.
But
Truth be
both
told,
by the district though.
I haven't taken my horse off E Road because I'm terrified. You know, and again, it's the traffic control or lack thereof and the maniacs that fly up and down the street.
Will you ride on the road or you ride on the trail?
We tippy-toe across the road and we go up and down the short part of the canal.
But there's a lot of gates along.
And just,
There's a gate at each end, but that footing is soft, and there's a fence post hole, and there's bushes that overhang it, so. Has that been helpful?
Ms. Perla, did you wish to?
Yes, I'm going to talk about when y'all started the committee. Nina and Kathy were on the committee. So some of you are new to the committee. I'm going to tell you that the town, unlike most towns that are incorporated, when we incorporated, we don't have infrastructure. We don't own anything, and that's the problem. It's not that an agreement is languishing on people's desks. The town cannot spend money on roads or items that they don't own. So the district needs to have their special act of the legislature recorded, of course. But in order to record it, it costs money to survey. The town can't expend funds to survey roads or land that they do not own that we cannot capitalize. We did that with North Road. We paid North Road 2.5 years ago, not owning it. We were told we can't do that anymore. Our auditors wrote us up. We will never do that again. We have been waiting for 3 years for that road to be titled over to the town. We still do not have it in our possession. So our council's position has been since then, going forward, that we can't expend the funds that are budgeted for trails until we have ownership, site control, whatever, that will allow us by law to expend the funds. So it's a circular motion. The district owns the property, but they don't have the money to survey them. They want the town to survey them, and the town is wanting some assurance that they will receive the site control so they can legitimately expend the funds to do the surveys so you can have a trail. It seems strange to the layperson. It seems strange, but it just doesn't happen overnight. It's a give and take. And the council's position in their contract, it's not their contract, but when they're doing the contract, they have to decide what's best for the town. And the town's residents' taxpayer dollars is the ones that is going to be used to do that. So it takes a little bit of time, and they can't expend the money unless they have some assurance that they're going to get something back for it. And everybody wants to share in that land and use it jointly, and they're trying to develop that. It doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of pooling on both sides, and everybody wants to get the best deal for themselves and provide something for the community, and it's not easy. You need to take that into consideration. There's 5 council members and 5 supervisors, and they all have different opinions, and having them all come together and come to a compromise on one thing takes time.
If I may provide an example. On March 6, 2012, Town Council approved or voted to approve an expenditure not to exceed $30,000 to make repairs to the 6th Court Trail. It has been 31 months waiting for that simple repair to be done. The plans for the work have finally, and the scope of work has finally been approved by both, my understanding, by both governments. It was going out to bid or to receive proposals for it and the work to be performed, and it has been deemed that it cannot be done until such time that the entire trail network is completely approved with every I dotted, every T crossed. So we now cannot use the $30,000 approved to make the repair until such time happens. The Water District had $40,000 from Palm Beach County for 10 years. They finally gave it to the town here in July to make trail improvements on North Road, as the $40,000 from the Palm Beach County was approved and designated for only that trail. That money cannot be used and the work cannot be performed until this entire trail system is approved by both the Water District and the town. So we've got a loop going here, and perhaps a hiatus of this committee is in order to, until such time to be done, because we can't make any recommendations if y'all not going, if the council's not gonna do anything. Would management care to respond on that or not?
What I would, we are currently out to bid on 6th Court North, or request proposal. It's my understanding the section of the road that has been, the district already has that. It needs to be turned over to the town so that we have site control, and then I can move on that piece and get that, it's designed, it's ready to go. It's, the district's got to like the sign a piece of paper that says here. And what, I guess what it may be, I don't know exactly why there's this problem, but the issue is, okay, we'll kind of sort of give it to you, but we still want to control it. And the issue that we have is, in order for us to do good things, we need site control. Well, both parties cannot have site control. If we have site control, then they don't have site control. If they don't have site control, if they do, then it's the other way.
If I may ask a theoretical question, if this committee were to sit down and do the final review and approval of the equestrian signs that's been budgeted by the town, will the town put those signs up?
I don't know how.
Wait a minute, these signs are the road signs.
This is the
Some of the roads,
I just asked the question, if we were going to approve these signs with monies approved, will the signs be put in, or do we have to wait until this is agreed?
They would be on roads, not trails.
All right.
The reason they would be on roads is because the town in its charter was granted jurisdiction.
So these signs, so we can, as a committee, then consider item 4A. Let us proceed with considering whole business 4A, the final RETAG review and approval of equestrian signs. Do we have any motion to approve the final equestrian signs as provided in backup of this agenda?
We don't have them yet.
Exactly.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve slow for horses. Actually, I like the one with the horse on it. I make a motion to approve the one with the horse.
I second the sign with the horse.
Any further discussion from council, from the committee on the approval of the slow for horses is the law with the silhouette of the equestrian and the horse? Is there any public comment?
Please just get it done. Just get something done.
All right, hearing no further discussion, all in favor of approving the slow for horses sign with the equestrian and the horse silhouette, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, it passes 5-0. Item 4B, discussion of control crossing master plan. I bring it back to the table as we had a consensus, but I have an issue that I still wish to bring up. This whole crossing requires a site plan to be submitted to Palm Beach County. We had a consensus in the last meeting to leave out a whole of the road map, and I do not know how to do that.
I'm sorry, hold on 1 second.
We had a consensus opinion to not include the development to the north of Loxahatchee Road known as Minto West. And there was a consensus not to put it in. I'm trying to volunteer service to put a road map together and a master trail plan. I do not know how to take that land out of that map.
I don't think the discussion was taking the land out.
The discussion was not to acknowledge Memento's existence.
Trails. They don't have any trails, nor will they have any.
Well, it's not approved, it's not something that's existing. And so, you know, if you.
It's Calvary Judge. which
Well,
is
it's
what
now
you
Winter
report.
West.
Well,
That's the ownership
you know,
of the
it's
property,
land.
that's all.
Yes. And we had a representative to suggest that they were considering that. And I know that there was the thought process that was the developer's sale, and I can appreciate that response and respect to it. However, we're trying to convince the county that there is a large equestrian trail network here to approve our request of control crossings on FNB Road at Okeechobee. And it would be a benefit to include the proposed trails to help sell the county on our request. And I have a roadmap that I am putting a trail plan on, and I feel that that needs to be included. We only had we had a minimum of 3 members provided quorum, it was a consensus, and now that we have a full committee, I thought it might be best to review that.
Because we changed our minds.
Did we change our minds? No.
No, because he didn't get the answer he wanted. I don't know.
Well, the best thing to do then for me, the best thing for me to do is withdraw my services for the road plan, because I do not know how to do this, and perhaps the town staff can prepare a master road plan for this meeting.
Did you not have on there the acreage trails? The acreage trails complete
I had
the
those trails.
system.
I had those trails. I also wanted to put on the suggested Minto trails and the Little Ranches trails. And in order to sell this thing, I was at a meeting with Palm Beach County Traffic Engineering, and it was basically expressed, we need to demonstrate that there's a real need for these crossings, or forget it. So to have the most extensive system on it, will sell it.
Do you want me to do the trails? Because I can certainly fill out the map, I think I have everything I need to.
I will relinquish my handling of the
That's the
roadmap to town management. And the town management direct as they will.
How are we going to portray our non-existent trail system in Loxahatchee Groves? This was a future site plan?
This is a master plan of a trail network of central Palm Beach County to demonstrate, 1, the need for the crossings on Okeechobee, 2, to develop availability to grants by demonstrating a inter-municipal network of trails. State grant monies are available for park and recreation systems that are shared between municipalities.
As of today, it's still a moving target, it's not been approved yet.
Well, is there a way to just put, if something goes there, these would be necessary so that, I mean, will you get in trouble if you say you're gonna do something and it doesn't happen? I mean, for a grant, I mean, you can't usually be that vague, right?
No, they just tell you you don't have site control.
Right, exactly. Well done. Okay.
That is correct.
So, I mean, I suppose you could put proposed crossings to Calvary Judge, if you don't have to use the word Minto.
I feel that the trail plan reviewers, compliance of development code, and it's best to go in with a full arsenal because they will cut something out to demonstrate that they did their review and show that they are responsible for the job that they have. So by throwing in the kitchen sink, it's better than going in there with just a cup of water.
And you think that little bit of trail and lintel will make that difference that they're currently have on their site plan?
I think
that they're proposing, that has not been through BBC yet?
I think showing the trails of acreage, of Mentone, of Waxahachie Groves, of Wellington, of Little Ranches will develop a regional asset, and we had a presentation made by Mr. Odell from Wellington to suggest that trail systems can be carried all the way up to the lake, and that would bring in Florida Trails Network, which could possibly produce additional grants that we can benefit to improve our trails even more so once we have site control.
I don't see the difference, honestly, between putting it in, other than that you're foregoing the process of them getting the approval for what they're asking for, and you still don't know where these trails are going to be at, or where they're going to end up, or where they're going to come out. You don't know that for sure.
Yes, and we don't know, and we don't know if we're going to have all our trails.
Exactly, I mean, I think it's really
There's
just.
a difference between what we have at least input on and what's there.
Well, we had input in our presentation. A planner representing the owner suggested he was going to have 15 miles of trails around the perimeter in the buffer that they're creating. He indicated there is 5 miles of trails along M2. Why can't that be not shown to help our cause?
How is the 5 miles on M2 even helping us?
By demonstrating that there is a network of trails that would benefit by having cost control devices on Okeechobee to make the complete network. And that someone could get on a horse, someone could be on a horse from Lake Worth and go all the way up to Lake Okeechobee if they wanted to. And we can provide a system. Yes, Laura?
There is a system. I think it's huge. Include it. Put a little dash line that says potential or in progress.
Exactly.
You know,
Yes.
again, make that carrot
Would
big,
you like,
shiny, and
would you like to
fat.
make that a motion?
Absolutely. What do I say to make that happen? And I propose to include whatever it is that Chairman Keith is speaking of including on this map. The more, the better.
Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Is there any further discussion?
I have an issue with, what was the one word you said? One was potential and the other one was what?
I have no idea. I'm just speaking from emotion here.
Potential is one thing, future is another. Again, it's not there yet.
I probably said potential or proposed.
Potential's not seen yet either.
Could we then, hey, put proposed on it, but show it?
In the finished rally.
Is there any public comment?
You're
Town
gonna put
council?
the flyover on Southern?
Town management?
Yeah, you're gonna put the flyover in Southern,
Well, it's
exactly.
not like that piece of property is gonna fall off the earth. It's gonna be there, and whether it's accessible by a trail or not is really kinda up to us at this point. Because if we can't get to it across Okeechobee now, we never will be able to.
I think we're mixing oranges and apples, but,
I think you don't like Minto, and
Yeah.
it's clear, and that's okay, but whether it's Minto or Bob Jones's backyard petting zoo, it's gonna be something. It's land, it's there, it's gonna be something, and maybe we could ride a horse around
Okay.
it.
All right, we had a motion, we have a second, all in favor? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-2.
For a little clarification, I said again, so the motion is that you're going to continue with the control crossing master plan,
Yes.
which
To
is incorporating.
include proposed trails of Minto West development.
Just wanted clarification in my.
Who opposed?
Member Corning, member Strela. New business. A has been deleted. B, discussion of Lots Nancy Groves Water Control District roads and right-of-way deed. This is another concept. It's a question, support the town control and ownership of these roads and trails, possibly Okeechobee included. Backup is not required, as this is not a research assignment. This is basically a poll. Would you like to see town control and ownership of roads and the trails? Ms. Laura?
Don't we have to say yes in order to say site control, in order to gain site control?
That means
That
that
I don't understand.
what that, this is a packed question. What that means is that you cannot have ownership of the water control maintenance area without bringing the district under you,
Okay.
dependent. I mean, how do you have ownership of the trails?
We have ownership of 4 of their roads already. They turned those over.
Right, but that's different, because a district, a water control district, their job, it has to do with water and the canals and maintaining those. That's their number 1 job, correct? So since the trails are in the place of the maintenance area, not on the roads, but in the maintenance area. Most water control districts are not going to have anything to do with roads usually. Right?
Well,
They usually have,
their easement
they have easements.
incorporates, that's what they have a deed, incorporates the canal and the road. It's one easement. It's not that they own the canal and they own the road. They own the 60 feet, which incorporates the canal. I'll give you an example. For the last couple of months, DOT has been doing work right here at the canal. If you noticed, when they finished on this side, DOT moved over on the South Florida Water Management's canal. And they're doing all the maintenance on that easement, the DOT, even though the canal is owned by South Florida Water Management. Local governments work together. Water control districts are in most communities. They maintain the canals, the towns maintain everything else.
Okay, but we're talking about 2 different things. I'm talking about the maintenance easement for the canal. Maintenance easement for the canal. It's an easement. It's actually not, the property owner still has ownership of that land. If in that case the property goes that far, right? So sometimes that's the case, sometimes that's not a case, depends on which road you're on, right? The easement for the water control district, that is where the trails have been proposed, those almost 30 miles.
Well, actually, I think there's 2 pieces of easement. There is the road piece.
Yeah, but I'm, right
and the
now,
trail piece.
okay, but we're talking specifically about right now we're talking about the,
Roads and the trails.
I mean,
yeah, but the problem I see is when you turn over roads, that is often done, you know, the road gets turned over, the town manages the roads, they never concern, because it doesn't affect their ability to maintain the canals. So that's why I'm asking specifically questions regarding the trails,
should not.
to explain myself
But
better.
the trails could impact their maintenance of the canal.
Correct. So how do you even propose doing that without, with still having an independent district?
I'm not proposing.
Well, okay, maybe Keith is proposing, but that's what I said, this is a loaded question.
I think, I
If
don't
I
know that it
understand.
has to be, I've worked in cities where there's been multiple water control districts. Not one, but multiple. They do water.
Mhm.
The cities do everything else.
Mhm.
It was not a conflict.
Wellington has trail system on the canal banks.
That's not necessarily a conflict. I think part of the maybe some of the issue in the town is when FPL comes in and put their easement in, don't go build something underneath the FPL. They'll have you move it, tear it down, or whatever. So when the town gets an easement, or the district gets an easement for the road or the trail, you can't put something in there even though you own it. I haven't figured out, it's just my perception, why a landowner who really can't do anything with that road or that trail wants to pay ad valorem taxes and assessments on it.
Well, there are many reasons, and one is that you actually still have your 5 and 10 acre, et cetera. You haven't lost the size of your land, for one.
But it would not
And
impact.
it also counts into your setbacks and so forth, else not. I mean, there, you know,
But you don't
that's
have to.
not, I mean, that's
I
not
understand,
really,
but that's not germane because.
that's not the hairball in the question. The hairball in the question is, if you're talking about having ownership, was that the question, ownership?
There's no word ownership in this.
Okay, well, having,
Control is
Con-
actually the issue.
It actually says it's a discussion of roads in the right-of-way deed.
right, but
They're already-
ownership, I think, came before, when Perla was speaking, she was speaking of the ownership. So I'm trying to understand it. I can understand how the roads function. How does a water control district maintenance easement function
Same.
the,
There
with
is, it's the same easement, Ian. It's not, there is no, if you look at their document,
so the easement in
it
the
is
same
60
place?
feet wide. If
that's
tomorrow
the
you
original.
decided to flip and build an Ojum Road on the other side
Mhm,
and put a horse trail where the dirt road is,
mhm.
there's no reason why you couldn't.
So you're
if the
bas-
space was
okay.
there. There's nothing that says this must be for water maintenance, that must be for that, the canal must be here. Nothing says that.
In other words, it's like having a water control district easement and an FPL easement in the same place. It's not really ownership, but it's, because that confused me before when you said.
The thing is though,
ownership.
the district has 60-foot right-of-way that's 60 foot that is not yours
Yeah,
if you
right.
live here or someone else if they live there. That 60 feet belongs to them. There are points where that actual use, either the road or the maintenance, has migrated and in actuality is not on the, as you well know, on the
Place
place where
supposed
it
to
ought to be according to the survey. Therefore, the both local bills came in to regularize to the point where it has been maintained to, in the event that it is over on someone else's property. That's the issue. I don't think that area added to the entire right-of-way is to what Keith is referring. The discussion, I guess, more than anything else than asking you a question, is so you all understand. I guess tonight maybe everybody understands more that the trails, the roads are inside that 60-foot or the little edge beside. So with everybody having that common knowledge now, you can appreciate part of the problem, but also
You look at.
how is that to be dealt with, you know? And it's not a push-pull to make you decide, oh, the RETAC committee said this, or the RETAC committee said that. It's certainly not what I would suggest that you do.
I mean, there is a lot of people, I met a citizen today, the road that is going to end up in the easement of the district,
Mhm.
and eventually the trail, is entirely on private land. It goes all the way out to the water.
When you look at collecting canal, I mean, it's certainly far wider than your, I mean,
If you look-
and that was
If you
always
look at
my
South- if you look at
issue,
South
that we
Avon,
haven't surveyed that in many areas where we're going, you know, so-and-so says there's this and this there.
I've never seen that, but at any rate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, part of the issue is, and I think what the citizens and what you can help and other committees is need to get across that maybe if you whether you've given it or it's gone, your road in front of your property and you've lost a quarter of an acre or a tenth of an acre, and now instead of having 10 acres, you got 9.9, that you do not lose any of your vested benefit. Because you had 10, you still have 10 for practical purposes. It's just that now there's a piece there that is an easement that belongs to the district. That is the concept.
that's correct.
So that nobody's harmed. You've already been harmed. If you've been harmed, you've already been harmed.
Member Ciliano, did you have something just to say?
I did, but I've now forgotten.
Mr. Trailer?
I do think there's some benefit in your comment.
With regard to
If you build it, they will come.
the roadways
They're coming.
and the waterways
They're
and everything, it seems that all we need to do is to, well, not just we, but, you know, we, the big we, is have prioritize it. I mean, we all would like to see the equestrian trails, and we're all supporting the equestrian trails, but you know, it's way more important that those canals are maintained. So if somebody has to do work on a canal, but it's our trail, you know, I mean, you know, there are bigger plans afoot than just the equestrians. And we do have to protect all of our citizens, not just the horse owners. So it's a matter of setting priorities.
I have a question, in how the roads are getting turned over to the district from the other district?
No, they're not.
District?
The district
Water-
has their,
Control
the
Okay,
district
who-
has what they have.
okay,
There's,
and what roads does the town not actually,
Amy,
Pretty much, except for
So-
right?
how does that go about happening? Is it a lottery, you have to vote for it on your street? I mean, because I would imagine part of the problem is that nobody really knows who has what, and then who's going to maintain that what, and like, you know, if there's,
The
it's
town,
so
the town
convoluted.
maintains all the roads. The town of Loxahatchee Groves maintains all roads within its boundaries. That means district roads and town roads are maintained 100% by the town of Loxahatchee Groves. That's,
When you say maintain, you're saying
We're
financially
funding.
responsible for.
we're funding.
So
You're
it
funding
may not be our road, but we're still paying for it.
You're paying water control to grade the road?
we pay water control to grade all town roads and all district roads. We maintain, we've taken responsibility for all the roads in our community.
So if we're financially responsible, why don't we have control of it?
Exactly.
Would be a silly thing, that would just don't make sense.
I know it.
That's,
Ms. Laura?
there's the circle.
I'm sorry, it's just hitting me. The town is paying the water control district to maintain roads, but why doesn't the water control district have any money? Just not throwing that out there.
Good question. Very good question.
Sorry if I just said a nerve. I don't understand.
No?
Okay.
Yes, public comment from,
The public.
Tom, what's your role
Identify
here?
yourself, please.
As I understand it, you're the council liaison
that is correct.
for this committee. And there's this £500 elephant in the room, the Watts Control District. These like dark men, these folks who own all this stuff, these folks who seem to manage to be able to stop everything happening. Should we not have a Water Control District liaison in the room? So when everybody throws these bizarre questions out, somebody's here, maybe John, maybe not John because he just talks loads and doesn't say anything, somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, so they can say yes or no. You know, these golden words that we don't get very often.
This is a town committee. If you'd like a water district committee for roads and trails, go see if they'll make one for you.
I don't know another committee.
Well, just go see if they will.
Actually, we did
Yes,
have,
committees.
early on, and Kathy, you will remember, early on we did have police on the issue. Yep.
Okay,
And
good, well, that's there, but
would
what
be,
about now?
that would be something, well, we can certainly
Keith,
stretch out an invitation.
There's an interesting comment in a study that was done years ago that says that the town would resolve its road issues by having the district remove its overlapping responsibility. This was a report that was funded by the town and prepared by the district, even though the district did not participate in it. They said, this report continues to say that this issue, to maximize the effectiveness of the roadways and the related improvements of funding, that the partnership of the town and the district should not continue. But yet, here we are, 6 years after that report, still in a loop of it's mine, it's yours, it's mine, it's not mine, it's not yours. And the citizens are sitting here in a quandary of who's in charge.
I would imagine most of them are not, because this is all.
So again, this question, do we wish to support the town in taking control and ownership of the roads and trails? It's a yes or no.
Yes.
It's a big yes or no.
And you can go further.
There was-
And you have publicly gone further on a number of occasions by simply saying, why can we not set about the removal of the Watts Control District? Because they are a defunct organisation. They don't serve any function, they don't do anything. They obfuscate, they inveigle, they simply confuse matters. You know, I sit here week after week listening to you guys struggle through a morass of nothing. Nothing gets done. I like all you guys, you're all great people. You know, you can quite like Phil and Perla, you know, but nothing gets done. What are we all doing here? You've got The Walking Dead to watch. You know, I've got something to scribble out. You're right. Advise the council to do everything they possibly can to get shut of the Watts Control District. This is not complicated stuff. We make it more complicated than it actually is. You've got the council, you've got the Watts Control District, you've got the Underwood guys. You know, Bill himself a minute ago actually said, I don't really know what they're doing.
Member Ciliano,
Go ahead
do you wish
with
to
it,
make a
Steve.
motion?
I would like to make a motion. I'm not cutting you off because I think
Oh, no, stop.
I value everything you're saying, because it's nice to have just some clarity and bias. But my motion is that we advise, as an advisory committee regarding roads and trails and waterways, that we make an attempt to gain control of our roadways.
There was something.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it. I don't quite understand it, but I'll second it because it
It has
seems to
been
make
seconded.
sense.
Discussion.
Well,
Member Strelo.
Nope, I'm having a happy little discussion here, that's all. I am not making any motions.
No, there is a motion made. You
I
wish
know
to
there
discuss
is.
on it.
No,
So you wish to no comment.
no comment.
Member Corn.
Well, right now we are in the process of trying to work out some of the agreements with the Water Control District. And if I'm understanding it correctly, things are with our attorney and have been with our attorney. That's what my understanding is. In the meantime, I think we're flinging a lot of ammunition at the people we're trying to go and have a meeting of the minds with, as we did when the bill was first created. And I'm not quite sure that this is the way to do it. The other thing that comes to mind is that I asked a couple questions last time, and again, we were only 3 of us there, in reference to taking of land and differences in powers from a district to a town. And if I understood Mark Cutney's response properly, I understood that the 7-year way of control that the water control district used, you know, having used it for 7 years, is something that the town has, it is something that the district has. I think I also understand that that is the only way that the water control district has. I believe that what he was saying, that the town has additional ways of acquiring lands. He mentioned 2 other ones. So, I mean, this is also, I think people in this town have not been very thrilled about having had their land taken. And I think there are other things that need to be talked about.
And then just let me clarify that my motion was just to recommend as an advisory committee that we take control of our roads. I wasn't saying that we go in with machine guns and take, that the advice from this committee is that the town needs to have, please, help me.
Well,
We would not be taking, as a town, anything that the legislature has not already given to the district.
Okay.
The district will take this property, and the town is going to give them the money to do it, once again, under the plan that we're currently functioning in. We're going to do the trails first, the roads second. This was the purpose of the local bill, and the reason that the town worked with the district in order to achieve it. Now the question is, do you favor that general overall plan? Because that is the direction in which the district and the town are working and have been since the local bill commenced well over a year ago.
So we have a motion on the table.
What I find a little bit strange too is the way that, I mean, I'm looking at these items on here and it's really, I've got a guess of what it is that it is actually about, you know, on this agenda. I'm just, you know, I'm like, okay.
The discussion that we have the roads in the right of way. There has been a motion and a second to recommend to town council to pursue town control and ownership of the roads and trails. Or control and ownership of all roads and trails. I wish to bring in a vote at this time. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. I think that you're talking then about ownership. I'm not.
Yes, town manager, sir.
May I? I think the town's gonna end up with the roads. That's not, I don't think that's really an issue. There may have been a misrepresentation or misunderstanding. The district could not rely on the 95.01, I think it's 95, the statute, to take, the reason they had to do a special act, because they cannot rely on 95.0. Government, your government can rely on 95.01, Florida statute. 361, thank you. To say, landowner, this is a road and now it's belonging to the town. Districts
Local
don't
bill
have,
would not have been necessary, the town had.
districts don't have that authority. Towns have district authority plus town authority plus. But I think that roads are gonna happen, and I think they're gonna come to the town.
Well, we're in the process of
The issue
vote.
is how fast that occurs.
We're in the process of a vote
We have had,
I was just trying to add.
we've had favor, any opposed?
I'm not
I'm
abstaining.
abstaining.
You cannot abstain unless you have a conflict.
I'd say everybody here has a
Well,
conflict.
No, I
One
mean,
way or the other, I think everybody
question-
here has a conflict. I'll bet some of your land is in some piece or the other, belongs in a trail or in a road, or belongs somewhere that is outside, so you all probably have a conflict. I'm just guessing, I don't know exactly where, I don't know where any of you live actually, but I'm guessing that all of you have a conflict because a piece of your road or your piece of the trail, whatever, is coming out of your property.
It is important to state that the town has never expressed an interest in seizing anybody's road. What we did on Bryant Road, because they wanted it improved, we asked the residents to sign over that 30-foot easement to the town because they wanted their road improved and the town improved it. The town's position has always been, if the residents request it, we would accept it. We've had residents that have requested that their roads be taken off the town's list and go private. Those are private roads, and the town has honored those wishes as well. I don't want anybody to think here that the town wants to seize people's roads. That is not their policy, nor has it been their practice. They only responded to the citizens' request. Whether they wanted it included or they wanted it excluded, it was fine with the town.
Well, can I just say too that the purpose for the motion wasn't just for an immediate control of the roads. It was the broader picture is that if we do actually end up with some sort of control of the roads and roadways and greenways, we might have a chance of getting a trail system, maybe.
And I'm not
Maybe
opposed
then.
to,
Okay,
I'm not opposed to.
we've had our
looking
discussion,
for-
we are in the middle of a vote, any opposed? Members Corning and Strelo, may we have your vote, please?
I am abstaining.
Member Corning?
I think it's too broad, and I think it needs to be more specific, and I don't feel comfortable with this broad recommendation.
So your vote is no?
Let me hear the motion one more time exactly, the wording of it, could I hear it again?
Joe made a motion, recommended that the advisory committee make a request to council that make an attempt to gain control of the roadways.
I have a problem in that we were having a discussion, which has now resulted in a motion that we would like to send to the council.
Well, we had a discussion and a member decided to make a motion. So it was seconded, we discussed it, and we're in the process of a vote.
Well,
and my motion, please, is really on the heels of bearing in mind that we have been sort of a non-producing committee, and we're getting advice and we're getting help from everywhere, and it all seems to stem from the fact that we have zero control of the roads that we want to put trails on. So in an effort to make some forward motion and to make it look like we really are in trying to create a trail system, and if the first thing that has to happen is that we have to have control of the roads from whomever it is that has the control of them, then that's the request that I would like to make to our town council, so that they know that that's the direction that we're trying to go in.
if you're, then I'm gonna make a motion on top of that motion, which I
Okay.
believe I have the right to do. And it gets done at the county all the time.
No, we're in the middle of a vote on a motion. It has been seconded. We are in a partial vote. Is any nay votes on this motion?
Motions get made on top of motions all the time. substitute motion.
But Joe would have to agree to it, and the seconder would have to agree to it.
Do we need to hear it first?
The way we do it in the council, that's how it's done.
Was it?
You cannot override her motion with another motion without first voting on it. It is improper and not correct.
I'm not a parliamentarian, but what I have seen is
Okay, can I make a suggestion?
you can make a substitute motion, then if it received a second, the vote would go on the substitute motion, fail or up, and then it goes back to the original motion.
And the chair is in the middle of a vote.
The substitute motion I was suggesting was that what you're trying to resolve are the trails issues, which you could make the motion to have that easement on top of the maintenance easement, and to view that as a possible solution.
We have a motion, we have a motion, we have a second, we're in a process of a vote. Again, does anyone wish to say no against this?
I'm concerned about what some developer will possibly take advantage of.
Well, that is something for the town council, who has the position of making policy to consider. We're making a recommendation. We're in the middle of a vote. Does anyone wish to offer a nay vote?
I'll abstain there. You go down.
I cannot accept an abstention.
Doesn't matter if you've got 3 years to anyway.
Town manager, advice?
You should not be abstaining.
You should not be abstaining.
No,
She either say yes or no.
If you don't agree with it, it's
Yes
fine.
or
If you don't agree with it, say no.
Yeah. Yes,
And
no,
maybe,
deadlines.
maybe I didn't understand the intent of her motion. Maybe it needed to be clarified. I thought the intent is that you would like to encourage the town to take all actions necessary to start the movement of trails and roads to some kind of site control for the town. That's what I.
For the site control, read it again.
That's what I thought.
Maybe I'm still not here.
I may be putting words into her mouth, but I thought that was the intent.
Look, my concern is that if we get a very developer-happy council, that we now can grab more roads, more land from property owners.
You can do that anyway. You can't change that.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
The town could make a 100-foot wide easement straight through the entire town with eminent domain if we wanted to. If the town council said that, they could do that. There's nothing you could do to stop it. If the town council decided that someone else would pay a higher tax rate, they could just decide that, oh, your area is blighted, here's community redevelopment area, done and done. The town has all these rights. You're not stopping us in any way from that. So if that's your worry, then that's not a worry. The question's simple. Do you think the town should be in charge of the roads and trails? Yes or no? If no is no, then say no. If yes is yes, then say yes. It's a simple question.
Nina, in the past 3 years, how many times do you think we've discussed this? And how many times have we recommended to the council that they try to get ownership of the roads?
Okay, so.
It's a redundancy, really, because we are trying to. We are trying to.
Not like this, though.
It is a process by
Not like
Just-
this, then say
Not this
no.
way.
Then say no.
No.
Okay.
Wow.
This is like asking your parents for the car keys. They're either gonna say yes or no, and that is why I seconded the motion. That all we're doing is saying to the town, hey, can you please take control of the roads? And they're either gonna say, yes, we are, no, we aren't, or our attorneys are talking on it.
Yeah, we're not making the decision, we're just
Yeah.
making a recommendation.
Again,
So, how do you vote, Member Corn?
How does it say to you?
Motion passes 3-2. Administrative update.
This has been very enlightening for me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Being none, closing comments, public. Hearing?
Good job, Keith. You know, guys, I know some of you have been here a long time, some of you haven't. I've been here a bit longer than you guys, but you've got to get something done. Otherwise, what's the point of you all turning out Thursday night? You know, how long were you doing in your net cafe? You know, 3 years. You know, longer. Nothing got done. I'm not saying anything's going to get done now, but you've got to start using words like yes and no. And how long is that going to take? And can we put a date on that? You know, that's very important. You know, it's with the attorneys. How long is that going to take? Tell them when you want it back. You know, make some people do some things. It's great we all, you know, what controls seem to spend half their time creating work for themselves, which in turn creates work for you guys. Maybe happy days. You know, you can charge for it.
No, we can't.
Whatever. It costs money, but it's all just lots of government in the town. So I work for companies bigger than this town. You know, with less managers. Good job, Keith. Get something going.
All right, committee members. Member Strelo. Closing comment?
No.
Member Ciliano?
I'm good, thank you.
Member Corner?
I'm good.
Member Moore? I'm sorry, I don't want to mispronounce your last name. Thank you.
There you go. Danowski.
Danowski.
Yes. Comments. Earlier Keith said something about possibly suggesting adjourning our meeting to an every other month or you know, some other hiatus. I completely disagree with that idea. I think we need to keep thrashing through these moments of time and frustration. And what the public comment from Tim was, you know, set a deadline, be definitive, you know, ask for things. I think that would be huge for getting things going. And again, I'm sorry, I am the new kid on the block. I don't mean to disparage anything that anyone prior to me has said or done. This is painful, and I am sorry that y'all have had to ride through all of this, because I'm chewing nails here. But it's we just have to do it, you know. And there are things that are out of our control, and we just have to find a way around them. Yeah, I just don't Thank you.
My comments are this earlier statement about hiatus was a response to the circle of who's in control, we're not in control, we can't do. And it was just to try to establish the point of the circle. I do not wish for this committee to go in hiatus. I think it can be of a value asset to the town. Town manager has indicated that they have a draft of the interlocal agreement, and I would like, if at all possible, at town management's convenience, to distribute that draft to the members of this committee, so it may be considered over the next month and possibly be placed on the agenda for review and comment to assist council with their decisions on how to handle the agreement. That being said, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Meeting adjourned.
Hi. Hi. Have a good night. Thanks.
Congratulations on the new job.
Thank you so much.
Turn it upside down. Yeah, not that like that.
Thanks. You feel better than